This is the latest edition of Front Up, and I'm Whitey Willauer, and I've got a very interesting guest here today from Matticat, I believe.
That's
Clark
right.
Whitcomb. How long have you lived in Matticat?
We've owned the property in Matticat for 43 years now.
43 years.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. And it's gotten better every day.
Good, good. So tell me, I gather you tie flies and make fishing poles and do all of those kinds of
I do all those things,
yeah.
but I think we're here to discuss electricity costs.
Yeah.
Is that correct? And I think one of the most important aspects of my personality is that I'm a cheapskate,
Oh, yes.
a Yankee. And I read about this program,
Yeah.
Mass Save,
Yes.
which is sponsored by National Grid, our
Right.
electricity provider. And it said you can learn how to save electricity costs if
Yes.
you sign up for Mass Save.
Yes.
So that's my introduction. Now you talk.
Well, very good. Now tell me about this. You were talking the other day and how well they actually provided you, and they came to your house, and what happened there?
Oh, it started, I think, in June. I saw an ad in the Inky or in the Globe or somewhere, or maybe it came with the utility bill, the electric bill.
Mm-hmm.
And so I called. It said call. I called. Very good response. Shortly after the initial call, a woman called back and said, let's schedule a time for the energy audit person to come to your house.
So you actually had an energy audit?
Yes.
Okay.
I'll explain all that. Yeah, and they gave me a date of September 14,
Mm-hmm.
and as September 14 approached, the company called again to confirm, and then a day or two before, the gentleman who was conducting the audit called to confirm the time, and he showed up a little bit early, as a matter of fact. And he came in and we discussed this and that and the other thing, and I said, you know, before we start, you're probably going to recommend new windows and all of this kind of stuff that are very low very high R factor relative to what we have.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, we got to realize that I'm going on 75 years old, and the payback period might not be enough for me to realize any significant cost savings. And he said he understood that. They
Probably heard the story before.
Yeah, they're very realistic about it. So we concentrated pretty much on appliances, lighting, heating, and put the storm windows down in November and leave them down for the winter, of course. And any easy, simple little insulation jobs like electric outlets in the outside walls, etc.
Mm-hmm.
You can do that yourself without.
Right.
Most people could. So we walked through the house all the way. He didn't go up in the attic, but he did stick his head up there to take a look at the insulation.
Mm-hmm.
He started by removing our old light bulbs. I think he removed 38 light bulbs and replaced them with the new CFLs, the compact fluorescent light bulb.
Mm-hmm.
And they're in all shapes and sizes and forms now. They're not just those little squiggly
Mm-hmm.
jobbies. They have them that are covered with a regular bulb-looking cover. They have them dimmable. They have them that fit in the bucket lights in the
Really? Yeah.
in the ceiling. There are limits. There are some limits to the use of those. One is if you have a programmable on-off switch, as I do for the outside lights. It comes on just before dark and goes off 1 o'clock in the morning. Can't use that. The mechanism will not take that
But
kind of current.
he changed all of your lights?
But he changed virtually all the
all
lights.
38.
He changed 38 of them. I already had a lot of them in the shop, in the garage,
Mm-hmm.
etc. But he replaced ones that we hadn't changed successfully. As a matter of fact, in the kitchen, we got a bunch of inset bucket lights. And he replaced those with the CFLs. And he said they'll take a minute or two to come up full brightness after you turn the switch on, each time. And of course, my dear wife Nancy showed up and flipped the light switch on, and they didn't shine as brightly as she was used to, and I well, in a minute they were beautiful. They're brighter than the old bulbs, and not the heat, which is a big factor,
yes,
in the summer. Burning using up a lot less electricity than the big ones would.
Did you notice it on your electric bill?
Haven't had the time yet, because it was just done on September 14.
Yeah.
Although the projection is that we'll save, probably 25% of the lighting portion of our electric bill over the relative to the old bulbs. He had recommendations about refrigeration. We have 2 refrigerators, the nice one in the kitchen and then an old one out in the garage that stores the soda and that sort of stuff.
Yes.
And it's got a freezer section. And he went out and he looked at that and he said, well, that's a dinosaur. It probably counts for a month's worth of electric power throughout the year, annually. And then he talked about the rebate and recycling program, and they will rebate $150 of the cost of a new Energy Star refrigerator. Of course, they're expensive to begin with, but that's a nice reduction. And they will also provide up to $50 for recycling of an old refrigerator.
Really?
No matter what you get to replace it. So, they're giving some significant monetary incentives for you to do these things. They have a heating loan program where if you replace your heating system, now this gets into oil or gas, of course, you replace your heating system with a new energy efficient one, they can provide a loan of up to a certain amount. I think for a single homeowner it's $2,000, 0% interest over a long payback period. If it's a 2-family, it's a higher amount. If it's a 4-family, it's up to $25,000, or a business. 0% interest, long-term payback period. Good deal. They provided, I have the folder here, an enormous amount of information giving you ideas on how to save electricity costs and oil and propane. So if you go through all of that and just use common sense, you don't have to do an awful lot to save electricity. This program, by the way, is funded. You fund it yourself.
I did.
You take a look on your electric bill.
Yeah.
And you will see a charge, an energy efficiency charge of 0.0005, 5/10,000ths of a dollar per kilowatt hour per month. I think the last bill that I looked at, the charge to us on the bill was 42 cents.
I see.
But that goes into the kitty to fund this energy assessment program, which is run by an organization, the nickname is Mass Save, but I think it's Energy Conservation something or other.
And that's a subsidiary?
No, it's totally independent. This is what the representative told me.
Oh, they're totally independent, but they receive funds from...
Totally independent. They are contracted by by National Grid or whatever utility you're buying from.
Oh, okay.
In our case, National Grid. National Grid pays the Mass Save to conduct these audits.
Yeah.
And you've already paid a little bit toward it. Now,
Right.
It's an awful lot of kilowatt hours to fund this guy's, what it costs the company to send this. First of all, they provide him in a car, which comes over on the ferry, which is full of these CFL bulbs. And, oh, by the way, he gave us replacements for all of the thermostats in the house. He gave us programmable thermostats, and they're not cheap. He didn't replace them himself. He said, that's up to you. But and he spent probably 3 hours with us. So, you know, all in all, there was a lot of money spent
Yeah.
to benefit a ratepayer. Now, why do they do this? And his answer was, the quick answer was, well, it's a lot cheaper to reduce electric use than to build a new power plant. Then I talked to him at greater length about it, and he said, well, back in the 70s and 80s, in the 70s when the oil embargo hit, Washington went crazy, and they started passing all kinds of rules and regulations. One of them was an Energy Efficiency Act or something like that, which mandated that utilities develop an energy assessment and savings efficiency plan. And that's where this whole thing hatched. And it's as simple as looking on your National Grid bill, and there's an 800 number, and you call and you ask.
Look at your bill, the 800 number, and that's where you started.
That's where I started.
And you called that number, and how soon did they respond?
Well, I had someone on the phone immediately, and
Yeah.
they called back maybe. Well, they said it would take a while to determine the schedule when the team would come out to
Sure.
Nantucket, and that probably, I would guess that a month or month and a half passed before they had the schedule set, and they called and said, well, how about September 14th at 1 p.m.? I looked in the calendar and said, fine. And then the morning of the audit, the particular consultant, the fellow, called and said, I can be there a little bit early. Is that all right? Yep. He came out, and as I say, he spent about 3 hours at the house. It was worth it for me to be there. Well, first of all, I'm retired, so I don't have an awful lot else to do. But it was a big help to be there and to learn about all this and trail around after him. And
Yeah. Would you recommend other people do
I would
this?
recommend that anybody and everybody do this. I just think that we as a country have not zeroed in on conservation issues enough. And this is such a simple way to conserve electricity. The long-term benefit, of course, is reducing fossil fuel
Sure.
pollution.
That's right. Yeah.
Or building more dams or windmills.
Don't say that. That doesn't. I mean, we're going to put one out near your home. I hope you don't mind.
That's another subject.
I see.
I know where your heart lies, Wayne.
Yeah, I know. No, conservation is important, and I think National Grid is doing a great job.
And I think conservation comes before any of the alternative energy schemes make any sense. If you can it's a lot cheaper to conserve than it is to build windmills or solar panels or power plants.
Yeah, but we have to do both.
We have to sensibly do both.
Good.